Hello everybody and welcome to the third whip shading video. Today we're going to do a flower and we're going to wrap it in a ribbon. So if you want to learn how to do the whip shading technique, get a little more detail on it, check out the first video. And if you want to learn how to draw a ribbon, check out the last video I just posted. Today we're going to do a very simple flower and wrap it in a ribbon and shade it using the whip shading technique. Now this is going to be a very simple rose, so what I like to do is do a swirl. Like that. And just like the ribbon, we're going to draw some lines down like this. So we'll start adding layers to the outside. We'll do it very simple. It's going to go down like this. And this one. Come across just like this. Down right here. You with me so far? You can pause that and look at it if you need to. But as far as the top part of the flower, that's as simple as it gets right there. We're gonna come down a little further with that. Further in the middle. We're gonna start on the top of the stem. I like to kind of do a little swoop. There. So this will all connect into there. I'll start here. When I'm doing the ribbon, I prefer to have my ribbon behind the top of it. That way the main part of the drawing is the flower. So the ribbon I'll start. You can kind of, if you check out my first drawing on the ribbon, you know how to add in the swoops and all that, but we'll go pretty simple. So this part of my ribbon is going to be behind my flower, so I draw it first so I can put my ribbon behind that. Let's go down a little further. So this part of the ribbon is going to be in front of the flower. So I'm going to go ahead and make my turn right here. See, that's going to be in front. Went a little too there. All right, so I can go ahead and draw my stem on down to this. All right. that part of my ribbon is going to be here. So what I'm doing is I'm wrapping it this way. But what you can do with this drawing, you can put somebody's name on here, you can make a birthday card out of it, anniversary, Valentine's Day, whatever you want to do. So this ribbon is going to turn in the opposite direction. So I'm going to, this here, looks like it's cut off, but what's happening is this is going to go that way. So what we're going to do, shoot. Hang on. That's gonna go like that. All right. I don't like to erase, but sometimes you can't help it. There. It's gonna be back behind here. There we go. So your flower is going to continue down. That's going to be in front of this part, so I'm going to draw it first. If you're going to do a little thorn, do that right there. Let's see, where is this going to meet up at? It's going to go very, very simple. And then behind here, this is swooping with it, with this right here. So it's going to go right across there. So that's where your ribbon's going to end up showing back up at, right there. We can do this here and then do kind of a like that. What's wrong with him? Sound like he was crying.
His feet were asleep.
Oh.
He couldn't walk. All right, so we've got the basic outline right there. And we can start adding some depth to it. We'll start with our whip shading. Start wherever you want to. You know,
depth explanation on the whip shading, feel free to check out my other videos. I explained it a little better in there. So we're just going to go ahead and go for it right here. Kind of giving myself a little scribble right here in the corner. Darken that up a little bit. All right, the flower. What I'm gonna do is, this is the dark part of my flower, right inside here. So I'm gonna whip shade outwards, like that. One little tiny little. That. Do the same thing from this way to that way. I'm doing tiny little movements right here.
There's a guy's hand with no feet, but a head.
What I'm doing, what I'm gonna end up doing, is I'm gonna whip shade from the outer edges to the inside. What you can do to leave this, separate this a little bit, just kind of keep your shading away from the edge of that. So what it's gonna do is make that look kind of like it's curved outwards a little bit. So just down, there you go, like that. You can get a little bigger with the whips on this. You got a little more surface area to cover. And if you're into reading, check out my book, The Loop by M.R. Price. It will be available. It is available on Amazon. Link will be in the description. Just sharing this video would help me more than you know. All right, this part here, this is kind of curved in a little bit. So what I'm gonna do is do some shading from the center to the out, just a little bit. All I'm trying to do is make it look a little curved in the center there. And I'll whip it out from here. And back to there. All right, so this is what I'm doing so far. Are you with me? Any questions? You don't understand something, feel free to comment and I will answer as well as I can. If I can't answer in a comment, I will make a separate video on it to explain it further. My whole goal is to help you learn how to draw. The whip shading is where I started. That's when I really started getting into drawing, was learning how to whip shade. I did this quite a bit. Just stay along with me. Doing small little pencil strokes to just kind of separate these two petals right here. Since this side's curved in a little bit, what I'm gonna do is kind of whip from the center here, just like that. Now what I'm gonna do is leave this alone, so that will isolate these two little spots here. If you were to do too much shade in here, what's gonna happen, you're going to end up hiding that, so that won't look like a petal on its own. It'll end up looking like part of that one, so we'll just leave that just like it is. Come here. All right. Almost done with the petals. Just a little kind of do a little scribble in there. There you go, that part's done. Now, in here, yeah, it's looking a little scribbly, so you can always come in and kind of blend this in there a little bit. This is toilet paper. All I've done is taken 2 sheets and just folded into a little airplane. Just come in here and scribble inside here. What you're going to do is hide most of your pencil strokes in the middle. so it doesn't look too scribbled. And when you get out to the ends here, just kind of do the same technique. You just whip this outwards like that. Make that look a little better. Now I like to go on the ends, just kind of whip the ribbon. Just gives it a little more detail. Makes it look a little better. From here, we're going to continue on with the ribbon. But with my shading, what I'm doing, I'm kind of starting at the top and working my way down. So that way, once I get down to the bottom, everything's done. If you're into more complicated artwork and this is not interesting to you, be sure to stick around. I am going to get a little more complicated, but I feel like this whip shading can be used in many, many different things. And I have a drawing coming up to where I can explain why the whip shading technique is really important in a lot of ways. When you get into the more complicated stuff, even a person's face, there are some spots in their face where you need to know this technique. And each technique you learn is just another weapon you can put in your arsenal. Okay. We're going to do the same thing on the stem of the flower. I'm going to start from the outside, Now up here, I'm gonna make these little whips a little bigger, and then they're gonna get super duper tiny once we go to the center. Kind of starting at an angle because going straight across is going to be really difficult. Going at an angle just kind of gives me more room to get the whips right once I get to the center here. This is going to be, there's not a lot of room right here, so we got to do tiny, tiny, tiny. Just take your time. Just working our way down. All right, I'm gonna start with the after I do this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut my shading off right there. Then I'm gonna start back onto my little thorn right here. You can make these a little bigger. Just kind of go to the center. Go like that. What is it, Patches? Did you actually come see me? Did you actually come see me?
I want the butthole.
Oh. It's this, isn't it? I know it. Just keep working your way down the stem. We're just gonna do little things to give that stem a little depth. From here, I am gonna add some shading right here just to add some detail and separate these two ribbons, two parts of the ribbon right here. Now this part is just like this part up here. We're gonna do some shading right here, and then later I'm gonna come back and just kind of blend that in. But the rest of it I am gonna blend in later. It'll look a little better. Now I'm following the curve of the ribbon. Sometimes if you put this shading in the wrong spot, it'll just kind of look weird. But basically what I'm doing is just kind of giving this ribbon a little bit of depth. Whip shading is not a real detailed technique. But we'll definitely get into more complicated shading later. This technique takes a little more time. Doesn't quite look as good as your traditional shading, but as I said, this is a really good foundation for later. You need to learn this technique, and if you're really good at it, you can actually make some really good artwork. Okay, I'll blend all this in later. And from here, just continuing on down the ribbon. See, I'm kind of curving each little line I do, just making this ribbon have a little more depth. Makes the ribbon look a little more curved. What I'm gonna do is leave a little bit right there at the top just so I can keep these two ribbons separated. tiny, 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 tiny towards the middle. Give me a little scribble. Right there. Same thing, I'm gonna leave myself a little space right there at the top. It's not gonna be super noticeable, but it will separate these two ribbons right here. Now, right here in the middle, there's a little bit of a curve right here. So what I'm gonna do is just kind of do a little scribble right in the middle. And just kind of whip this out a little bit. I'm being pretty light with it, not putting in a lot of pressure. Right here on the end, I'm going to do the same thing I did over here. Just kind of finish off the ribbon there. Just kind of clean my drawing up. I'm going to take this, just same technique, whip that out a little bit. We're going to keep the hard lines there as much as we can, just to make it the same style all the way through. Let me add some more there. All we're doing basically is just softening the hard lines you've got right there. And right here, what I'll do in the pedals, just kind of a back and forth motion. So what I'm doing, I'm dragging some lead to the center of each one of my pedals. It's not a huge thing, but what it does is give it a subtle little shading look. Can you see the difference? That side and that side looks a little more detailed. Same thing all through here. I'm just gonna try not to cross over the framework of your flower. All right, right here in the middle, just go. I don't really have a whole lot of room, so I'm just kind of doing just a little up and down, side to side motion. All I'm doing is trying to blend some of that in. Now the lines on your ribbon, what I'll do is just kind of run across like that and just soften the hard line on the ribbon, so it doesn't look so drawn. I might add in a little more detail right here. Just kind of keep the same technique going. All right, that is going to do it. And thank y'all for watching. Any questions, anything you're interested in seeing me draw, anything y'all want to learn, didn't understand something, just let me know in the comments.